My name is Emily and I'm 35 years old. I've been staying at home for the past 10 years, taking care of things while my husband, Michael, works as a doctor. We haven't had any kids, but we've been mostly happy together. Then one day, Michael came home late and dropped a bombshell. "This is the end for us," he said. "I've decided to marry my mistress and we're getting divorced today." I was shocked. "Marry your mistress? What are you talking about?" "I've made up my mind. I'm leaving you for her," he said coldly. "Our marriage wasn't based on love anyway, right?" It was true. Michael's parents had arranged our marriage without us knowing each other well. We only had our last name in common. People said it was fate that we shared a name, and in the rush of it all, we got married. We managed our life together okay, but now, after 10 years, he wanted to leave me. "But we've been together for so long," I protested. "When did you start betraying me?" "It's not betrayal," he replied. "I met her a year ago. She's a nurse at our hospital. She's charming and caring, unlike you. It's natural that I fell for her." "Are you serious?" I asked, hurt. "Yes, I've never been more serious," he said harshly. "These 10 years with you have been like hell. I'm tired of supporting someone so boring. It ends today." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "How can you say that? It's true we didn't marry for love, but we've been together for so long." "I never thought you'd say such things so calmly." "Well, it's the truth," he said dismissively. "You're just a homemaker. She's an active nurse. Any man would choose her over you. A successful doctor like me doesn't need someone like you." After a moment, I spoke up. "Fine, let's get a divorce. We'll figure out alimony and our belongings with a lawyer. I'll sign the papers and send them later. Until then, I'll stay at my parents' house." But Michael cut me off. "There's no need for papers. We were never legally married." I was stunned. "What do you mean? Without a divorce, you can't marry someone else?" "You're naive," he sneered. "The truth is, I never registered our marriage." "We're not married, just living together," Michael said coldly. "So there's no divorce, no alimony, no splitting of property. You thought you'd get my money, but you won't get a penny. I never submitted our marriage registration." I was in shock. "Not submitted? Are you joking? We've been living as a married couple for 10 years. How is that possible?" "Normally, yes, but I made sure to keep control. I handled all the official matters, and you took care of the house. You had an allowance and couldn't work part-time. I never intended to register our marriage. I was saving marriage for someone I truly loved." "Then why didn't you refuse to marry me in the first place?" I demanded. "I couldn't refuse my parents. They're stubborn and wouldn't have listened. Plus, I wanted a housekeeper. I'm a busy doctor and needed someone to handle household chores. It was a good deal for you too, right? You got food and a place to live without working. You were probably feeling pressured to get married because all of your friends were." I was speechless. "You really saw me as just a housekeeper?" "Yes, it was a win-win for both of us. But now, it's over. You should be grateful for the good times you had. Now you have to live on your own." "I can't believe this," I said, still reeling. "And one more thing," Michael added. "Don't tell my parents about this. If you do, you know what will happen to your father, right?" My father runs a medical equipment company that supplies the hospital where Michael works. It was through our marriage that this connection was made. Michael was threatening to sever the contract if I told his parents the truth. "It's your fault for being deceived. How pitiful to be thrown out with nothing," he said, laughing. But little did he know, he was the one who would be thrown out without knowing anything. I couldn't help but burst into laughter. "What's so funny?" he asked, confused. "I can't believe you became a doctor with that kind of knowledge," I said. "I knew all along about your mistress and that you didn't submit our marriage registration." "That's impossible," he exclaimed. "I've been preparing for this day. I suspected your infidelity for the past 6 months but didn't have enough evidence. So I hired a private investigator." The investigator had confirmed Michael's affair and had evidence of him entering a hotel with a nurse from his workplace. He also found that we might not be legally married. "You were the one who would be thrown out without knowing anything," I said with satisfaction. "I've been waiting for the day you would bring this up, and now I'm ready to get my revenge." "What does that mean?" Michael asked. "I overheard you and your mistress at a cafe," I explained. "You said you didn't need to worry about alimony or property division because you never submitted our marriage registration." Michael looked surprised. "What? I can't believe it. We've been living as a married couple for 10 years. "I don't know why he didn't submit it," I continued. "That's why he never let me handle any official procedures." "Yeah, that seems to be the case," the investigator confirmed. "This is too much," I said, feeling overwhelmed. "Am I just supposed to accept this? If we were never married, there's nothing I can do." Not necessarily, the investigator said. Let's make him pay for deceiving you for 10 years. First, we need to prepare without him noticing. So, I began to plan my revenge with the investigator's help. So, what if you knew we were never married from the start? Michael scoffed. It doesn't matter what I do with other women. I don't need to take any responsibility. You said I was pitiful for not knowing anything, but it seems you're the one who is pitiful. What do you mean? I asked, smiling. We're considered to be in a common law relationship, I explained. You might not know this, but you can actually claim alimony and divide property in a common law relationship. What? Michael was stunned. Yes, I continued. It's not well known, but you can. Of course, there are some conditions, but looking at our case, it seems we meet them. What are these conditions? Michael asked, his confidence faltering. The common law relationship is established based on 2 criteria, I said. First, both parties must have the intention to marry. If it's just living together, that's cohabitation. Mutual intent to marry is key. That seems subjective and hard to judge, Michael said. For instance, I explained, if you had a wedding ceremony or are recognized as a couple by others, it can be acknowledged. We had a wedding ceremony, and our parents and friends know us as a couple. Then the first criterion is met, Michael admitted. The second is living as if married, I continued. This includes sharing household life for over 3 years. We've been living together as a couple for over 10 years. As a homemaker, I've obviously shared the household finances. This is recognized as a marital relationship. So that means, Michael trailed off. If we can provide proof of what we discussed, I can claim alimony and divide property, I said. I'm not an expert, so I'll introduce you to a lawyer who can help. After consulting the lawyer I was referred to, I was told that I could indeed claim alimony and property division from my husband. So, I'm going to demand alimony and property division from you, I informed Michael, who turned pale. His confidence, which had looked down on me just a moment ago, was gone. But even if you can claim alimony and property division, you're just an unemployed woman, he said, trying to regain control. Do you plan to rely on your parents after being kicked out? Didn't I say I was preparing? I replied calmly. I've already found a job starting next month. I've also got my eye on a new place. Don't worry about me, I said. Michael thought I, a clueless homemaker, would be helpless, but the tables had turned. Also, I'll make sure to discuss this with your parents, just so you know. Do you not care what happens to your father? He asked, his confidence waning. If they want to break the contract, let them. I replied firmly. What? Michael was taken aback. Sure, you were the link to the hospital, but the contract continued because of my father and his company's efforts. Whether or not they keep the contract is up to them. Let's see if they'll break a contract just because the doctor's wife of 10 years was a lie. Try saying that. My father and I won't be affected if the contract is broken over this, I continued. It only shows the depth of their trust. We'll just find another hospital to partner with. Saying this, I took out my phone. You're not calling your parents, are you? Michael's voice wavered. That's exactly what I'm doing. Our parents think we're still married. It's only natural to inform them if this relationship is ending. To my surprise, Michael began to apologize. Please, let me talk to them. Don't call, he pleaded. Why? I asked, incredulous. You know how strict my parents are. If they find out about this, I'm done. What does that have to do with me? Huh, you're asking me not to tell the truth because your parents are strict. Are you kidding? You could have refused the marriage from the start. After 10 years of a selfish marriage, you're afraid of your parents finding out. I can't accept such a convenient story. I'll make sure to tell both your parents and mine. So, I called both sets of parents. All 4 were shocked upon hearing my story. A meeting was promptly arranged at our house. I've heard everything over the phone. Is it true that you pretended to be married for 10 years without submitting a marriage registration? Speak up, you foolish son. Michael's father demanded. It's true. I didn't submit it, Michael admitted. Why would you do such a thing? Didn't you think about how Emily would feel? His father asked. I had no choice, Michael replied weakly. No choice, you say? How can you even say that? It's actually your fault, Dad and Mom. I didn't want to get married, yet you started looking for a bride on your own, saying it was time I got married. You arranged meetings and tried to force a marriage on me. You're the one who agreed to the marriage, aren't you? His mother interjected. I had to agree. If I had refused, you would have made a fuss about it, so I decided to get married. If you were resolved to marry, why didn't you submit the marriage registration? His father asked. I read about a man on the internet who was in the same situation. He didn't want to marry but had to because of his parents. He lived a married life without submitting the registration, then revealed the truth when he found someone he truly loved. That's appalling. And what happened to that guy in the end? His father pressed. He's now married to the person he loves and has a real marriage. So I too will marry my girlfriend and have a real marriage. Then my parents, who had been silent until now, spoke up. A real marriage, huh? Sure, you might not have had a love marriage, but do you remember what you said at the wedding? What? Michael looked confused. We will never forget to care for each other and build a home full of smiles. What did those words mean to you? What were we shown then? We sent our daughter to you, hoping for her happiness, but you deceived her for 10 years without submitting a marriage registration. Did you build a home full of smiles? Now you're leaving her for another woman. Can someone who acts without a shred of care, even if they change partners, truly have a real marriage? Well, Michael stammered. I was happy you married our daughter, not just because you were a doctor. I thought she could build a happy home with someone as sincere as you. But it seems we were mistaken and deceived. And you threatened our daughter that if she told us about this, you'd cut off the contract with our company, my father concluded sternly. What? Seriously, if you're going to threaten our daughter, we'll cut off the contract ourselves. Be warned, we will tell the truth when asked why, my father said firmly. If you do that, there'll be rumors at the hospital, Michael stammered. Rumors? Well, yes, but that's the result of your own actions. You were the one who threatened us with cutting off the contract, my father retorted. My husband was in complete panic at this unexpected turn of events. Please wait, this is getting out of hand. Let's just talk. At that moment, my father-in-law grabbed my husband by the collar, furious. We didn't raise you to be such a scoundrel. What were you thinking? Father, please stop, Michael pleaded. By not submitting the marriage registration, you might have thought you were doing yourself a favor, but because of your selfish actions, Emily was strung along for 10 years. What were you thinking, causing such trouble to others? The living room fell silent. My husband, faced with my father-in-law's words, had nothing more to say. Emily and your parents, I'm truly sorry for the trouble caused by this idiot, my mother-in-law apologized. No, you parents shouldn't apologize, it's not your fault, my father replied. However, it's partly our responsibility as parents for letting him act this way. For now, we'll take him home and make sure he doesn't continue his reckless behavior. We'll deal with the aftermath properly. We're very sorry for all this, she added. With that, my husband was taken away by his parents back to his childhood home. You've been through a lot. For now, you should come back home and rest. We'll think about what to do next later. You don't need to worry about anything right now, my parents said kindly, thinking I was completely exhausted and deceived. Thank you, but I won't go back home yet. I still have things I need to do. I declined their offer and stayed in my own home. What I had to do was prepare for the final settlement with my now ex-husband. Gathering evidence for our common-law relationship, I was getting ready to claim alimony and divide our assets. A few weeks later, a meeting with a lawyer was arranged. However, even if I agree to alimony, why should I divide my property? She's been a homemaker for 10 years, never working a day. All the furniture, clothes, food. I paid for everything. Now you're telling me to hand over the money I worked hard for, the furniture I bought. Michael ranted, unable to accept that his money would be shared with me. Yes, that's correct. The money you earned and the furniture are subject to property division, the lawyer explained. Why does it have to be like that? Who did the housework while you were working? Who cooked meals with the groceries you bought? Michael argued. That's irrelevant now, he snapped. No, it's very relevant. A homemaker is entitled to property division because housework and childcare have economic value. Speaking as a human, not just a lawyer, do you think housework is something anyone can do? That it's just expected of a homemaker. The reason you could live freely is because of her support. Don't get that wrong, the lawyer asserted. What? Michael was taken aback. And this situation is a result of your actions. Yet you have the audacity to be selfish, the lawyer continued. What did you say? Never mind. Anyway, she's entitled to half of the assets for property division. That's how it is, the lawyer concluded. Damn, regarding alimony, we intend to claim $100,000 from you, my lawyer stated firmly. $100,000? Why so much for a relationship that wasn't even a marriage? Michael exclaimed. It's precisely because you weren't married. Normally, alimony claims in common law relationships range from $10,000 to $40,000. However, in your case, you pretended to be married for 10 years and selfishly tried to kick her out when you found someone else. The amount is determined by the severity and duration of your actions, my lawyer explained. But still, You may think 10 years is just a short time, but it's longer than you realize. During that time, she devoted herself to you, believing you were a married couple. You have no right to complain after betraying her, the lawyer interrupted. Michael couldn't say anything and reluctantly agreed to my demands. Then, I also sent a notice of claim for alimony to his mistress. I knew who and where she was thanks to the investigator. As he had said, she was a nurse working at the same hospital. The mistress, having heard from him that there was no possibility of alimony or property division, must have been utterly shocked by the contents of the claim. "Wait a minute, this isn't what you told me," she confronted him at the hospital. "What do you want?" "I told you not to talk to me at the hospital," he snapped. "I got this from your wife. You said there wouldn't be any alimony because you weren't married. What's this all about?" she demanded. Okay, let's talk about this later. Not here. There are too many people around. We'll both be in trouble if this turns into a rumor," he pleaded. "I don't care about that. I can't pay this kind of alimony. You said it was okay, so you should pay it for me." "What? I won't pay a penny. You were the one who wanted this relationship. You said I was the only one for you, that you wanted to marry me." "Hey, quiet down. Everyone can hear us. Just so you know, I'm not in the wrong here. If you want to make amends with your wife, do it yourself. Tell her I don't owe her a penny, that you'll take care of everything," she demanded. "Wait, hold on. Hey, he tried to stop her. This exchange led to the revelation of their affair to the entire hospital. It quickly became the talk of the place. Then the final blow was my father's request to the hospital. "I apologize, but we would like to terminate our contract at the end of next month," my father said. The hospital, aware of the rumors, asked my father, "Excuse me for asking, but is the reason for canceling the contract related to Dr. Michael's affair? It's already become a rumor." Yes, a nurse presumed to be involved caused quite a scene. I never imagined he had been pretending to be married for 10 years without submitting a marriage registration. "I never expected it to turn out like this," my father explained. "You mean he never submitted the registration? Weren't you aware that he hadn't submitted the marriage registration?" the hospital administrator asked in shock. "All we knew was that he, being married, had an affair." "What do you mean he didn't submit the marriage registration?" my father responded. With my father's request, it was revealed that Michael had been deceiving me for 10 years by not submitting the marriage registration. This news spread among the other nurses. Dr. Michael deceived his wife for 10 years without submitting a marriage registration and had an affair with a nurse. "How low can you get?" one nurse said. "How could he do that? Can someone really not notice for 10 years? Another nurse wondered. Apparently, Emily's maiden name was the same, and he managed all the official paperwork. "That's scary," a third nurse added. The rumors spread not only among hospital staff but also to patients. Both Michael and his mistress received cold stares. Unable to endure, they soon resigned from the hospital. As my father told me later, "Did you manage to get the alimony?" "Yes, I received payments from both him and his mistress. She refused to pay until the end, claiming she was deceived, but the lawyer made it clear her argument wouldn't hold. And she reluctantly agreed to pay," I replied. "That's good. What about you, Dad? Did the contract get canceled after all?" "No, that's off the table. He resigned, and since our company is trusted, the hospital asked us not to cancel the contract. We couldn't cancel it after they asked like that," he said. "That's a relief," I sighed. Then I started a new life in a new place and was living happily. About a year and a half later, my ex-husband contacted me. "Is it true you got remarried?" he asked. I had married a man I met at work, and somehow he had found out. "I wondered whose number this was," I said. "Going through the trouble of changing your number just to contact me? Just answer my question," I demanded. "Yes, I got married. You betrayed me," he retorted. "Betray? We were never legally married, so I didn't think it would matter to you, right?" "That's a different matter," he stammered. "Indeed, things are different now. We're completely separated, so my marriage has nothing to do with you." "Is that why you contacted me?" I questioned. After I said this, he seemed at a loss for words. Then he taunted, "Of course, you're still unmarried since you probably haven't submitted a marriage registration again. You're that kind of woman." But things weren't as he imagined. "Unfortunately for you, my husband isn't the kind of person to do such terrible things. He knows all about your story, so to ensure I wouldn't feel anxious, we went to the office together to submit the registration. Sadly for you, things aren't as you thought. I can somewhat understand your wish for me to be unhappy, considering your own misery, but sorry, we're happily married." I told him this and hung up the phone. What kind of life he leads now, I don't know, but unless he changes his selfish nature, it's unlikely he'll ever find happiness.